So you're telling me you want to become a better English speaker? Well, you have come to the right place. In today's English lesson, we are going to talk about at least 23 different terms native English speakers use when talking about wet things. Some might be review. For instance, the first one here, rain. I think most people know the word rain, but you will get the official definition. You will get a picture. We might even talk about umbrella. That is the thing in the picture that somebody is holding so they don't get wet. And then we will have a sentence with that term in it that's going to help you if you are studying for the IELTS or TOEFL exam. So that's why I say you are going to learn at least 23 terms, but there might be some bonuses mixed throughout. And I think the thing that makes this difficult is we have like so many puddle, maybe not so much, but pond, lake, ocean, river, stream. What is the difference between those? Well, don't worry. We'll talk about it right here. So we were talking about rain. That is water that falls from the sky. Probably one of the first things you learn when you are studying English. It started to rain, so I opened my umbrella. So there is the bonus term for us there. Umbrella in the picture. It's very colorful and it looks like it's doing a pretty good job of keeping rain off the person who is under it. The next one we have puddle. Not sure if you know this term. Puddle? It's not exactly common, but it is something that is wet. And it's a small pond of water on the ground. The child jumped into the puddle with her boots. And guess what? If you're wearing boots, your feet are going to stay dry. But if you are wearing regular shoes and you jump into the puddle, your feet are going to get soaked. Do you know that term? Soaked. It means like really, really wet. The next one is bigger than a puddle, and it's called a pond. That's a small lake. We'll get to lakes in a minute. Ducks were swimming in the pond. Now, here, we don't have ducks in the pond. At least I can't see them. But you see those green things that are on the water? We call those things lily pads. So, bonus terms so far umbrella, lily pads, at least 25 terms in this video to help you speak better English. The next one we have lake. It's getting a little bigger. So, a pond is smaller than a lake is bigger than a pond. Here's the definition: a large area of water surrounded by land. We went fishing at the lake. Please let me know in the comments. Do you like fishing? I think I've done an entire English lesson on fishing terms. It's on my other channel, American English with Brent. Also, please hit that like button, subscribe if this is your first time here. Please let me interrupt this English lesson for just a second to tell you that I am offering speaking classes. If you would like someone to practice with so you can improve your English, I could be that guy. Use the code FALL15 to get 15% off your speaking lesson. Now we're getting bigger. Ocean. In English, we will often use ocean and sea at the same way. They're not exactly the same. Usually seas are smaller, SEA. Seas are smaller, but you will often hear that. Sea and ocean, they're not synonyms, but Americans often use them as synonyms. It is the biggest body of salt water. The other terms we've talked about before, we would call those freshwater. The ocean is salt water because it has salt in it. Waves crashed loudly in the ocean. And if you don't know what a wave is, it's not this. Don't worry. We'll talk about it in a couple more terms. River. Now, this water is moving, and sometimes it's well, sometimes it's medium to large. We do have a term for small rivers, but it's a long stream of water that flows to the sea or the ocean. Yeah, take a little bit of a bigger picture here. This water is moving. You might see those white things. We could call them rapids. If a river is very strong and kind of dangerous and it has white water, you might hear those things called rapids. That water in the river looks pretty peaceful. Not too bad. I don't think you would get too badly hurt if you went down the river in like a canoe or something like that. Let's see. Did we read the. No, we didn't read the sentence. Let's read the sentence for river. The river runs through the city. And the city that I live in has a river, and it divides one city from the other city. It's very difficult. If I want to go to the next town over or the next city over, there are only like 3 bridges that I can cross to get to that city. So my town that I live in is very much dominated by the river, not a stream. A stream is smaller. Let's get the official definition. A small, narrow river. So for river, we used stream in the definition, like it's a bigger stream, and stream is like a smaller river. We cross the stream by stepping on stones. Next, shower. And we have 2 types of showers in English. We'll talk about them both. But the one outside is like this: light or short rain, not a storm. We will talk about a storm later. So if you're just having a little shower, yeah, maybe you want to get your umbrella like this person did, and then maybe some boots. Maybe not put flowers in your boots, but a shower isn't really heavy rain, light rain. A quick shower, wet the streets. And in that sentence, wet is actually used as a verb. Now, if it's even less than, oh, hang on. Sorry. I was going to go to drizzle, but let's talk about you can also have a shower in your house. So each morning before I go to work, I shower. There is the verb, but I take a shower, I could also say, which is different from a bath. Baths usually take longer. You have to fill the tub up. A shower is usually very quick, a quick way to clean your body. Now, drizzle. This is like less than a shower. A drizzle, very light rain. It was only a drizzle, so I didn't need my umbrella. Now, a storm, you probably know this. A storm is going to be heavier than drizzle or a shower. A storm is strong weather with heavy rain and wind. The storm knocked down some trees. Storms can also cause flooding. Too much water covering the land. The flood filled the streets with water. On my other channel, American English with Brent again, I have done many stories about the news and how flooding has affected places like Texas and North Carolina here in the United States. This, I'm pretty sure, is a new term for you. Do. We have a couple ways in English that we spell do, a couple different meanings, but the way we talk about when we're talking about wet things is like this: small drops of water on grass in the morning. Now, it didn't rain the night before. It just is kind of there in the morning, just laying on the grass. And what makes dew so difficult, at least for me, as a guy who has to mow his lawn, I can't mow my lawn often in the morning in the summer because it's just too wet. I have to wait until the afternoon when the dew dries up. We didn't read the sentence for dew, did we? The grass was wet with dew in the morning. And I could add, I had to wait until afternoon to mow my lawn. What about a mist? A mist. We talked about drizzle and we talked about shower. A mist is even lighter. Okay. Now, this woman in the picture, she is misting her face, but mist can also come from the sky and just kind of make everything wet. You almost can't see it. But when you walk outside, your face will get wet, even though you may not be able to see any drops of water in the sky. Let's get the official definition. Very light fog made of water. Now, do you know what fog is? It often happens in the morning. It makes it difficult to drive if you are driving to work. And sometimes that fog is very heavy and it has moisture inside, and we could call that mist. Mist covered the hills in the morning. It was just misting out, so we went for a walk. You probably don't need a rain jacket or an umbrella. If it's misting out, you're going to get a little wet. Do you know the term? If it's just like barely wet? We talked about soaked before. That's like really, really wet. But damp. Damp could be a term meaning like just a little wet. Like if you leave your clothes outside to dry and you forget them overnight, when you wake up, they will probably be damp. Probably damp with dew. The next one is fog. That is thick mist that makes it hard to see. The car drove slowly because of the fog. I'm filming this in the fall right now. It's like October 7th, maybe. And last week, because it was going from warm weather to cold weather, it was pretty foggy out in the morning. I had to take it slow. Now we're going to get into some really cold, wet things. That is ice. If you saw the English lesson we did about cold things, we talked about ice already. It's frozen water. The pond was covered with ice in the winter. On my other channel, American English with Brent, I did a video with my brother and we went ice fishing. I didn't catch anything. Spoiler alert. Maybe he did. Check it out. Snow. We've also talked about this with cold things. Frozen water that falls as white flakes. Yeah, each little piece of snow, you could call it a snowflake. The children built a snowman with the snow. Yeah, earlier we did a whole lesson on cold things. We talked about snowman. We talked about flakes. We also talked about hail, I believe. Yeah, for cold things. Small balls of ice that fall from the sky. Hail hit the roof during the storm. So if you haven't seen that cold thing, these might be new for you. If you have, it's a good review. Waterfall. Last year, I visited Brazil with my wife, Jamie, and we went to a beautiful waterfall in Tijuco National Forest, I think it's called. Waterfall. This is one of the things in English that actually makes sense. It's like water that falls. We call it a waterfall. Sometimes it works out that way. English makes sense, but it's rare. Water falling down from a high place. We took pictures in front of the waterfall. I think my wife and I took a picture in front of that waterfall. Now, earlier I talked about wave. This is, yes, a wave. But when we are talking about wet things, you will often see a wave in the ocean. And that is what a wave looks like. A lot of people like to surf in the waves. Water moving up and down in the sea or the ocean. A big wave splashed onto the beach. Earlier, we talked about mist. I think spray is a little thicker. It's a little bit more wet. Water that is sent out in small drops. Sometimes when the waves are crashing against the shore, there is sea spray. So it's like salt water that's like in a mist form or a spray form that might hit your face when the waves are crashing on the beach. So we have spray. The garden hose made a spray of water. Some people, at least in the United States, will use a garden hose to water their lawn. Or what about splash? Splash. That is water that flies when something hits it. He jumped into the pool with a big splash. Man, I love swimming in the summer. My brother has a pool. He lives about a quarter of a mile away from me. When it's hot, I often walk up, jump in his pool. Sometimes I splash him in the face. He doesn't like that. Steam. So this is even probably less wet than mist. It's like barely there. Water that's barely there. Hot mist from boiling water. Steam rose from the pot of soup. I mean, the drops of water are so small. Yeah, I think steam is a little bit less than mist. And when you take a shower, at least a hot shower, you might steam up the bathroom. You'll see a lot of steam or fog. Sometimes we use the same term. You might see some fog on the window. Each little piece of water, we could call it a drop or a water drop, a very small amount of water, a drop of rain fell on my hand. Now, this next one can be a little tough. These come from your eyes. We call them tears, but we have the same exact word spelled the same way, but we pronounce it tear. So don't worry. We'll talk about all that in a minute. But a tear is water that comes from your eye when you cry. A tear rolled down her cheek. Bonus English phrasal verb there. Tears rolling down your cheek. These are your cheeks. Now let's talk about this. Tear. This is when you take a piece of paper and you rip it in half or you tear it in half. Half just means two parts. So there in the picture, you can see that book page has been torn. That is the past tense of tear. So let's take a look. Tear, that's on the left, it means to rip or damage, to tear. On the right, that is tear, watery. Oh, there's a spelling mistake there. It should be water from an eye. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another English lesson. Don't forget, I am offering speaking classes. If you would like me to be your speaking partner, use the code FALL15 at checkout for 15% off. And right down there is a whole playlist about wet things, dry things, cold things, hot things, all kinds of things. Thanks for watching. See you next time.